Kurt Schlichter is joining me to discuss Donald Trump recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, Senate Democrats blocking another Trump appointee, and new troubling questions about the judge who was supposed to sentence General Michael Flynn. Joining me now to discuss the events of the week is your favorite Friday co-host, Colonel Kurt Schlichter, U.S. Army retired. Kurt, let's jump right in. Jerusalem. The left is hysterical, despite the fact that in 1992, Bill Clinton said that he was going to recognize it as the capital of Israel. In 2000, Hillary Clinton, when she was running for Senate in New York and had to court the Jewish vote, said the same. Barack Obama said the same. George W. Bush said the same. Every president said the same. The only difference is that Trump actually did it. The left and never Trump are hysterical.
Oh, it's so wonderful. And look, it's super convenient for the left, too, because, see, now the liberals can hate the Jews and hate Christians all at the same time.
Yeah, it's sort of it's like an inclusive kit in time for Christmas and Hanukkah.
It saves time so they can, hate other upstanding Americans.
And you know what I love? Like just the ignorance around what it takes to secure an embassy, right? So once he did it, and once the videos came out that Clinton said it, and Bill Clinton and Hillary and Obama and Bush and everybody else, the new histrionics are about, well, it's going to take years. Do these people have any idea what it takes to build an embassy, to secure the building properly? Not just against a physical Benghazi-style attack, but against what we saw in Cuba, right? We've got now 20 American diplomats that were rushed into an unsecure facility in Cuba that have permanent hearing loss possibly, and now they're finding matter on their brains in MRIs and CAT scans. This needs to be, I would argue, the most secure embassy in the world outside of Iraq.
It needs to be, and it will be. I'm just, delighted that it's happening. It's irritating all the right people, John. It's irritating really the leftists. It's irritating the anti-Christian, anti-Jew bigots. It's irritating the BDS people. It's irritating the radical Muslims. It's wonderful. I love that Donald Trump actually keeps his word about stuff. For so long, they've lied to us. And when I say they, I'm including the Republicans. Mitt Romney wouldn't have done this. Jeb wouldn't have done this.
No, none of them would have done this.
They would have promised to.
Yeah.
Maybe Ted Cruz would have. Maybe Rick Perry. But see, at the end of the day, they've been, handing us I'm going to try and keep FCC compliant here. They've been lying to us. And they thought we were stupid and thought we never would react. Well, Trump's the reaction. Trump is the result of their actions.
Of their inaction. He's the result of that. That's what they're hysterical about. It's that he's actually doing something, that he's not following the status quo.
Yeah.
That's all this is about. He's actually making people go to work. We used to see that. You saw this in the military. I saw it in the police department. The older veterans, the guys that had been around a long time and didn't want to do anything, if you were young, you were aggressive, or you were new, you came in, you actually wanted to do something, they beat you down because they didn't want you shining a light on their laziness.
Exactly. That's, my job in the military is primarily to go into broken units and get them up to speed. And I saw that again and again. You have this old cadre a while when they were tired, they didn't want to do anything.
That's it.
And they had to go.
Not to mention that Sheldon Adelson, who's worth $33 billion, maybe more. I haven't looked at the most recent Forbes list. He was ready to cut the GOP off for not making this move. So Trump just handed the GOP, all of the GOP, even the establishment, about $1 billion in Adelson donations. They should be shining Trump's shoes and thanking him till the end of time for this.
Well, look, the problem for the Republican establishment is Donald Trump has done exactly what you said. It has shown them as lazy, time-serving hacks who thought we were stupid and didn't really mean what we said. And, if they can't take the lesson that is Donald Trump, that is, we're serious, they're going to fall. And the next test is going to be DACA.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is.
Yeah, because, name the normal Republican who sent somebody to Congress to give amnesty to illegal aliens. Yeah. Okay? Who's that guy?
Yeah, and on the heel,
they're chomping at the bit to do it.
But I mean, they've got to be beside themselves. And I hate to stand on tragedies, but let's be realistic here. The acquittal of Kate Steinle's murderer, in San Francisco, of all places, and a Border Patrol agent getting his skull crushed. Now they've got 2 suspects in custody, 2 brothers, one held on an immigration deportation warrant. So this is the evidence is there, right? The empirical data is there to support every one of Trump's positions. He's moving on them, and they really don't have a way to stop him. Public opinion is on his side, especially with regards to DACA. I don't see that stopping. The Americans elected Trump really in large part on that one issue, build the wall, immigration. That was his signature issue. That's what catapulted him past 16 challengers, 16 primary opponents.
Yeah. And you know, you got Paul Ryan pulling out his hair, trying to figure out a way to create a giant bank of low-wage, unskilled, uncomplaining workers for the corporate masters who write him checks.
Yeah, the chamber controls Ryan. No, you're right. The chamber controls Ryan. I mean, he does their bidding. He's been doing their bidding for years.
Yeah, and you know, when you think of the Chamber of Commerce, you think of the guy who runs the vacuum cleaner store. Right. Maybe the big guy is the guy who has the Cadillac dealership in town, but it's not. It's the AT&Ts. It's the Walmart.
Oh yeah,
it's these giant corporations, and their interests are very different from the interests of the Republican base. For one thing, the guys who run these giant corporations are not conservatives. The idea that business people are somehow, right-wing ideologues is insane. Yeah. They're, most of them are moderate, and then their, second wives are freaking communists.
Yeah, and then look, their policies, right? Their personal politics and their foreign policy, their personal foreign policy is what's best for the business. In which, if you're the CEO of, Tyson Foods got in all that trouble with illegals. If you're the CEO of Tyson Foods, you care about your golden parachute, your option package, your comp the next year, which is 8-9 figures possibly, right? You don't care much about what's good for the United States of America. And your foreign policy is going to be globalist. And you want those illegals in your factory plucking feathers.
Exactly. And that's the thing that we've got to understand. That's the fight within the Republican Party. I think the never-Trumpers are somehow the guys who were actually suckered by the globalists.
Yeah, and that's why I never trusted the Tillerson pick, because his foreign policy isn't what's best for the U.S. It's really been what's best for ExxonMobil.
Yeah, well, to the extent he's done anything.
Right, exactly. That's true. Except complain and whine.
Oh, God, he's such a little...
And you know what he needs? He needs a current haircut. He's got to get the hair over the ears. That weird 1970s soap opera villain haircut that he's got just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I'm still a little lost on the Tillerson choice. But of course, the media was announcing last week he was about to be gone, and he isn't. Does the media have any credibility left? I mean, does it ever get anything right?
It's incredible that so the Daily Piece did the story, and we're going to talk about Rick Grenell's appointment to Germany, but the Daily Piece, I think they had the hit piece on Grenell up for like 30 seconds before they had to revise it twice. It was ridiculous. All right, let's... No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, if we're going to move on to Rick Grenell, and we should, what a great guy, and what a disaster that Mitch McConnell's not getting him into place. Not only is it a message to the conservative base, which is really interesting. They, a gay guy from,
L.A.,
Los Angeles is a conservative hero.
Let me go give a little backstory, because we have a large Canadian audience. So Rick Grenell has been appointed ambassador to Germany by Donald Trump, made it out of committee, and now Democrats are holding up his appointment because they allege that he tweeted disparaging things about Hillary Clinton. Now, full disclosure, Kurt and I know Rick Grenell. Kurt's a very good friend of Rick's. I met Rick through Kurt. I like him. I trust Rick. I think he's a great American. I think he has an outstanding command of foreign policy, especially European foreign policy. There is not a better choice for ambassador to Germany. In addition, he's an openly gay man from Los Angeles. And liberals still are finding a reason to block him.
Well, I think that's part of it. I think that they don't want to show that if you're in one of those groups that would be traditionally thought of as liberal, you have the option to be conservative. Right. They want to bar that. I mean, it's homophobia. They're stopping him because he's gay, because they don't want a a gay conservative, showing you can be gay and conservative.
Well, you're never allowed to leave the Democrat liberal plantation. As long as you're one of their pet groups that they use for their own agenda, you're not allowed to leave. It happens to black conservatives. It happens to female conservatives. It happens to gay conservatives all the time. We see this, right? There's an all-out war on Kelly Ward in Arizona. There's an all-out war on the new crop of African-American candidates. There's a good guy, I think his name is John James now, up in Michigan, West Point grad, combat pilot.
Great.
He's great. Liberals.
He's an aviator. I like him.
Yeah, Army aviator, West Point grad. The liberals are going to start targeting him and making him the worst guy in the world, despite him being a stellar American with a perfect resume. But he's not supposed to be a Republican, right? He's supposed to be a Democrat from birth. But with Grinnell, it's even more shocking because, look, who hasn't disparaged Hillary Clinton? This tells us one thing. You and I will never be appointed ambassador to anything.
We're not getting anywhere. The only guy who can be ambassador, I think, is Peter Dow.
Yeah, Peter Dow and Ben Rhodes are about the only guys qualified.
Ben Rhodes.
But the only guys qualified to be ambassador. Exactly. But this is ridiculous. I mean, this is now the standard, right? If we were to take Ted Lieu's tweets and say that his tweets disqualify him, he'd have to crawl it under a rock somewhere. I don't know. He's one of your isn't Ted Lieu? Isn't Ted Lieu one of yours?
Ted Lieu is my congressman.
He is, right?
That drooling moron. Oh yeah. He's what an idiot. I mean, what an embarrassment. You know, we're gonna have fun over the next year.
You brought up McConnell, though. Let's talk about McConnell for a second, because this is what I want people to understand, right? Even though we don't have a supermajority in the Senate, Republicans don't have the 60 seats. That's really irrelevant, because if McConnell ran the Senate like Harry Reid ran the Senate, McConnell would pull in Dems and say to Dems, you approve everything I want or your bills will never see the light of day. They won't, forget getting out of committee, they won't get into committee. I will crush them the second you're done typing the last keystroke on that bill. And McConnell doesn't do that. So if something's being blocked by Dems, it's because McConnell wants it blocked. It's with his consent.
But look, I'm torn on McConnell because he's obviously an establishment guy. He's weak, and I think he, in some ways, I think sometimes he makes tactical errors. On the other hand, he can be really tough and smart. Look at Merrick Garland.
Yeah, on judges.
Somewhere.
He's been good on judges.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, I've got. And you've read my articles trashing him. I'm just wondering, is there a guy who could do better for us right now? And I'm not sure there is. I would love to see him prioritize Rick Grinnell, and I think he should. He just did cloture on Judge Willett.
Right.
So hopefully we'll see him.
That was an outstanding. I'm so glad that Willett is going. Yeah, he's great. He's great. Yeah.
He's terrific.
But if any country needs an ambassador, weren't you stationed in Germany?
I was stationed. I lived in Germany 2.5 years.
Right.
Germany needs it. I mean, Germany's in crisis. Germany's the most important country in Europe. It's having a political crisis right now. And these Democrats are playing politics with it because they don't want to allow somebody who proves that they're full of it to get the job. And it's, I keep hearing these whiny jerks like Jeff Flake talking about country over party.
Oh, yeah, right. And Doug Jones a check in Alabama.
It's always over our party. It's never over theirs. Oh, God, writing a check to the baby-killing monster.
It's ridiculous. I mean, if you want to talk about country over party and you don't like the Republican candidate, then sit it out or write in a third-party candidate. You don't donate to the Dem and proudly promote that you're donating to the Democrat who believes in late-term abortions, who wants to open our borders. I mean, Flake left the party long ago, so I'm glad to see he's actually leaving.
Well, what happened to him and what's happened to Corker, I think, are instructive. And I think the other Republicans are starting to learn, because you've got, we got enough votes to pass tax reform. They're worried. Even Susan Collins is a little worried.
Oh, sure she is. Sure she is.
It's becoming we need to enforce some discipline. The Democrats do.
They do.
The Democrats enforce
Pelosi
really well.
Pelosi and Reid ran the House and the Senate with an iron fist. If the roles were reversed and Reid was majority leader in the Senate, who's still around, he would get every one of his agenda items through. He would get every Dem pet agenda item through. He ruled with an iron fist. He invoked nuclear options. He would sit Republicans. I know this. I was told by members. He would sit them in his office and tell them what I said earlier. Your bills will never see the light of day unless you go with us, unless you vote with us, or at least you don't obstruct. And you know what? Ted Cruz, credit where due, he was one of the few that bucked Reed. And he did it for years, and it hurt him.
And they hated him. The Republicans hated him.
Yep.
He was throwing the monkey wrench into the gears.
Doing his job.
And
doing what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, it's going to be a while before we clear out the Republican Party. But, one of the great things about Donald Trump is he came in and he was serious about what he said. He hasn't done everything we'd like him to do. But, we still have 7 more years.
Yeah, we have 7 more years. That's the other thing, right? This whole first 100 days thing is so ridiculous. I mean, what was it? 17 years between the end of the Revolutionary War and the writing of our Constitution? And now we want it was about that, right? 15 or 17 years?
It was a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah, I mean, things take time. And look, we continually see the Democrats set up these tests that you fail. It's like dating a psycho chick.
Yeah.
She always sets these little tests up that you go, you didn't bring me flowers. It's Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's our 16th week anniversary, and you didn't bring flowers.
Yeah.
It's just the only
it's our and they've got it's our Post-it anniversary, and next week is our paperclip anniversary. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
This is the Dust Bunny anniversary.
The Dust Bunny. It's our Swiffer anniversary. Honey, we're at 5 months.
Swiffer anniversry.
It's ridiculous. Me. Yeah, you hate me.
And the media is like that. And the beauty is we're just starting to ignore it. You get these screaming idiots yelling, "You Republicans love pedophiles. Why you love pedophiles?"
Yeah.
Well, I love pedophiles, and I know you don't love pedophiles, and I'm pretty confident. The vast majority of conservatives don't like pedophiles.
Nobody likes pedophiles.
So it doesn't bother me. I don't care what they say.
Yeah, when I left law enforcement, my business in the private sector was catching pedophiles in large online communities. Disney was my client. News Corp was my client. And it was a bipartisan issue. I testified to about 15 state legislatures to either create or enhance anti-child predator legislation. It was bipartisan. Nobody wins an election
see, if you don't want the Democrat to win, the guy who kills babies, if you don't want the Democrat to win, you love pedophiles, and it's just so freaking stupid. Right. We're just immune to it, like the term racist.
That's right.
If you're on Twitter, you get called racist all the time. I'm not a racist, and it just doesn't work on me anymore. I just don't care.
Well, when I called for law enforcement applying the same profiling, I'm Italian American, right? When I called for law enforcement to apply the same profiling techniques they use to catch La Cosa Nostra, i.e. profiling me, right, an Italian guy in his 40s, and I said that there's nothing wrong with applying that to mosques, I'm all of a sudden racist. I'm racist. By the way, Islam is a race. I didn't know that. You didn't know that.
I didn't know Islam was a race.
Yes, but I'm racist.
I would be very stunned to have learned that when I was working with European Muslims in Kosovo.
Exactly right. All right, let's go to judges for a second. Let's switch gears. More hijinks, more fun and hijinks in the Bob Mueller Flynn investigation. So now we find out, since we last spoke, that not only Peter Strzok from the FBI sent anti-Trump texts, but we find out that another guy named Weissman, who was the number 2 prosecutor on Mueller's team, told Sally Yates he was in awe of her. He was so proud and in awe of her for refusing to uphold the Trump's travel ban, despite the Supreme Court just upholding it. And we find out this other girl, Jeannie Rhee, was Ben Rhodes' attorney for the Benghazi hearings while she worked at the law firm where Mueller was a partner. And if that's all not bad enough, Flynn's judge recuses himself because he's also a FISA, I shouldn't say because, but he's also a FISA judge. So the speculation is he had something to do with the FISA warrants. I mean, this entire thing is so tainted and dirty. If you were a defense attorney, on this, what would you be moving for?
Oh my gosh. Obviously it depends on the guy, but I would be bringing up, I'd have to say, if I was Flynn's defense attorney, I would at least present him with the option of trying to withdraw his plea based on this new information.
You would have to.
I don't know if he would do it.
Right.
The fact is they're trying to bankrupt him and they're threatening his son.
That's right.
Now it's kind of a weapon because I think he's going to end up with probation and a pardon. I don't think there's any way Donald Trump leaves office without pardoning him, as he should. In fact, if I was Donald Trump, I'd pardon him today.
I would as well. And how does Flynn not wind up with some type of ability to appeal this with everything that was hidden from his team. I mean,
he has to withdraw. He waives his appeal by pleading, but you can withdraw the plea.
You can withdraw the plea
in certain circumstances. It's hard to do. They don't grant it very often. I'm dealing with a case right now where somebody tried to do that and it didn't work.
But wouldn't you consider the fact that his counsel wasn't given the benefit of the knowledge? There was no discovery that Stroke was biased, Weissman was biased, Jeannie Rhee defended Rhodes while represented Rhodes while working for Mueller. Wouldn't all that be exculpatory? Shouldn't all that have been disclosed to the defense?
Look, I mean, I think I think it forms the basis of a motion that I would not be ashamed to make. Whether it gets granted or not is a whole different issue. Now, if he didn't plead and this was going to trial, oh boy!
I know.
I look at this. It's like, these people don't understand. I look at like the Roy Moore thing, and I'm just thinking, my God, there's so much meat for me to jump in as a defense lawyer.
But it's expensive, like you say. A federal trial occurred. I mean, Flynn is not a wealthy man.
No, he's probably making $5,000 a month on his
pension and his consulting firm.
Maybe 8 or 9.
Yeah, his consulting firm wasn't around that long. I mean, this is not a multimillionaire. This is a guy who was comfortable in retirement, and a federal criminal trial bankrupts you in about 3 weeks at that level. I mean, he would need $1 million. I think I read Karl Rove's book. He was never charged with anything, and Rove's legal bill at the end of Fitzgerald's special counsel investigation was close to $1 million.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, I mean, this could
you're
really
paying
bury
$700, $800 an hour for these guys.
Absolutely, and federal. I've seen federal filings. They're like that. I mean, for one pleading, it's not like a state court like that. I mean, this is it's probably $100,000 retainer up front in a case like that.
Oh, the amounts are unbelievable, and they're threatening his son. And that it doesn't matter whether his son's guilty or not. These guys, I mean, you look at these guys. I don't trust them not to file on someone they don't think that they have enough evidence on.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
They don't. These guys. This is a political witch hunt. It's not about justice. It's all based on lies, and it's a disgrace. And I cannot wait until the president pardons him.
All right, my friend. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Kurt's always a fun interview, and I want to keep bringing these to you. So please subscribe to our premium service at www.therebel.media/shows. If you're already a subscriber, thanks very, very much. Have a great weekend. I'll be back with you on Monday.